Oh. Welcome to potato time, everyone. I did not mean that. So, no bagel time this week, but we are having potato time. I bought a frozen thing of tater tots, and I make like a salsa bake, like a cheesy tater tot salsa bake with onions and garlic and all sorts of stuff. Oh, you know what? I didn't salt or season it at all. I even did that with the last one. I knew I forgot something, but it's still pretty good. So, the idea is it's bagel time, but with potatoes. It's potato time. See, I wasn't lying when I said there would be no bagel time. I'm kind of doing this solo. Eileen's all pootered out from talking, so she's relinquished as co-host from this. After all, she's not co-host of this. This is potato time. This is my podcast, my new podcast called Potato Time. I'm gonna edit you out of the thumbnail because my plans is to make the thumbnail just a Bagel Time podcast, but like fill in the O in the bagel. That way, it's a perfectly circular potato. You know, man, it's been a while since I've done a solo endeavor. In fact, we move the mic. There we go. So it actually, picks up me more directly. Oh wait, no, it's binaural. It's a bifocal mode right now, so I do actually have to talk into the side of it. It's been a while since I've done a solo venture. It's crazy to think I used to do this all by myself, Eileen is here, by the way. She's nodding at everything I'm saying and listening. She's just done talking for tonight, so yeah. It was interesting to have to learn how to do this without... What is that look you're giving me? Are you looking at my hair? What is it? This is why I never let her sit in on any of my radio... I did let her sit in once on my radio show host. For those of you who don't know, I hosted a radio show called Video Games and Burgers way back freshman year on the KUCI radio. Like, I was actual... It was FM, baby. None of that AM stuff. Apparently, I had listeners that weren't just my parents, which weirded me out. Because I got some really nice calls throughout all of it. Some people really liked my show and would call in. And that was always the weirdest thing, to think that people listened and also liked my show. It was essentially me vaguely researching things that I knew about and then just reporting on them and then reviewing burgers. It was a very weird kind of... it felt like my idea of what underground radio would be, which would just be me talking about stuff on end for however long. And it's weird to think. I listen back and I think back. I can remember the shows pretty vividly of my composure and what I did. All shows were done really last minute. I think that was what impressed Eileen the most, is I would go in not really... I never went in with like a script. Sometimes I'd prepare things, but I pretty much prepared nothing ever. I just kind of go with it because I think that's where I work best. And it's funny to think of all the times, all the ums and ahs, although I worked that out pretty much before I got the ums, but I would have a lot of pausing to work out with it. Especially, I think, having to listen to yourself. You have to fight, because as a radio, you really need to be able to listen to yourself and listen to your sound levels, because you're working with mics that are pinpoint accurate, So you have to put a headset on that's giving you a live feedback loop of everything you're saying, which is really weird. If you've never done this, get Audacity and try it out for yourself. There's an option somewhere to allow that. It's really weird, and one thing you'll notice if you record yourself just trying to talk about something, you go slower because there is an actual small amount of time it takes for you to hear things and for it to get to your brain and for you to understand that and to process that. And that's a lot of work in conjunction with trying to say new things and also pay attention to what you're saying. It's why we make slip-ups so much. And having a constant feedback loop of what you're saying does prevent you a bit from, making too many mistakes. But it's also really weird to get rid of. And I think it made a slower pace for the show that I think worked for it, but I don't know. I just know that 30 minutes, strict 30 minutes, is always too little for me, I feel like, whenever I want to do anything anything real, you know? I'm still talking to Eileen as if she'll provide a response. And she does provide a response to me. All sorts of silent nods and laughs. In fact, I'm actually surprised that she's entirely silent right now, because that's uncharacteristic of even her. But I guess she's just really letting me have my own space here, which I do appreciate. It's kind of weird. It's all nostalgic is the word I would use, and I don't get nostalgic about really anything. Or maybe fortunately, doing this show, doing this solo it's not a stream of conscious show, but it basically is. I feel like when it comes to broadcasting, I've learned a lot over the years because I've been doing it pretty regularly, even without the show. We got into our podcast pretty soon after I left radio forever. And like, I really only didn't do it for the spring of freshman year, and then the summer, and then in the fall, me and Eileen started this show in season 1. And sure, we didn't do many episodes very often, but I feel like every time that experience still stuck with me. And I feel like I'm now getting to a point that I'm kind of happy with my performance mode. I mean, I'm eating potatoes and giving a pretty decent stream of consciousness here with really no ums and ahs. And maybe, like, I've left 5 dead air spaces of like 1 second. I think I joke that I don't have to edit, that I don't like editing, but truth is I really don't have to edit that much. And I have to thank my wonderful co-host, of course, for that, because she's equally as good as I am as far as filling the space. Even though I joke and jab at her on the show, I do want to point out that she really is everything you could ask for in a co-host, and other than when she's crocheting during the show, and those are not bits. That is, I swear everything here is 100% honest. I mean, she will whip out her crochet stuff and just crochet quite a bit actually during the show. I think that adds to the fun of it. I see her get better every time. It's kind of, if anything, I complain about on the show, but it's amazing to watch her still be able to do it and multitask, because that's not something I don't think even I can do. I mean, I guess I kind of do, given that my background was as a radio show host first, so I'm used to like working dials while I'm speaking and everything and listening to myself. And I actually, during the podcast, monitor the time as well as the audio levels and make sure everything's going right with that, as well as trying to think of when to end the show. That's a thought process that is really hard. I feel proud of every ending of the show for the most part. And whenever we run long, it's because we never get to an end. We never get to a place where I feel like we can't end. I think that's really important to me, at least. I think to both of us, honestly, that the shows end on a good note. Not a good, but a strong note. It doesn't have to be the funniest thing. It doesn't have to be perfectly planned, but I feel like you have to know when you have to cut it when it's good, and when you're past 29 minutes. So as soon as you hit pretty much my rules is once you're past 29 minutes and you hit something good, you got to transition straight out of the laugh into, okay, that'll do it for episode 2 or whatever it is, you know? And maybe you've picked up on that just from listening, but that's my little behind the scenes tidbit. This potato bake is very good. I buy mozzarella cheese in bulk, like the shredded kind, and I've been doing it for Albertsons, but we went to Walmart recently and we found it for super cheap, for like twice as much, for only not that much of a price raise, like $2 more or something it was. So now I have 5 pounds of mozzarella shredded cheese that I go through because I like to make myself omelets in the morning. That is definitely my breakfast food of choice. So I definitely go through cheese daily. I think a bit of cheese every day is healthy. Like, I don't overdo it on cheese for the most part. I try to not. I just try to keep a balance, but I think that I remember reading, as a kid you get taught, and God knows if any of this was just government propaganda, because the whole food pyramid is basically a farce. If you guys don't know that, look into how different the food pyramid is. The food pyramid was basically created to promote the milk and meat industry, because those were originally the 2 most important things on the food pyramid when it first was created. And so it was just literally a propaganda machine that was in the guise of health. I mean, do you guys remember when breads was the I think it might even still be the biggest food group is breads, which I think any dietitian or whatever the heck the correct one's called would be willing to tell you that that is a bad idea to eat primarily grains. Like, maybe if you tone everything down to like a second world country kind of serving, maybe, but in the American society, no, you need to cut out on. You do not need to send the message that grains are the biggest amount of things you should have in a day. But what do I know? The reason I'm coughing so much is this salsa is very hot. I got hot thinking, oh yeah, whatever, it'll be fine. But it's actually pretty darn hot, which I enjoy. I don't get me wrong, I do very much enjoy that. But it means I have to drink water, and when you're doing a solo podcast, you never have an opportunity to drink water. It's kind of the nice part of having a co-host is if you need to stop, you can stop. And you may notice I will sometimes just directly hand things over to my co-host in order to take a break, whether it's mentally or physically, just get water. It's, if anything, I'm surprised that my endurance is being tried after 11 minutes of doing this. I really thought I could have lasted 20 minutes without my head feeling like it needs a bit of a break. But then again, even my old show had a music break in between. So I guess I've never really gone 30 straight minutes or even 20 straight minutes of talking before, uninterrupted as a stream of consciousness, especially while eating. I guess that was a silly farce of me to think. But yeah, I'm enjoying these tater tots. I cut up onions and put minced garlic in and baked it with salsa and mozzarella cheese. And I know some of you are going, use Jack, you filthy piece of crap, but I don't know. I like the way that shredded mozz kind of melts, and it also bakes well. Like, you get that splotchiness as well if you bake it for a long time. And I don't know, there's just something magical about the way it melts. It has a nice, slightly salty taste. It's an inoffensive taste, unlike Jack, which when it melts is often kind of greasy, and I've kind of become grease averse the more and more. I think the less I have grease, the more that I can barely. It takes me a long time to ever have anything greasy again. Which I would say is sad, but that makes me a healthier, happier me. So maybe I should be thankful for that. Or maybe it's just getting old and I need to have more Tums like an adult, you know? As a kid, I always thought that was weird. You know, you see adults being like, I'm going to eat some unhealthy food, time to eat some Tums beforehand, you know? And you go, wow, I am invincible, so I will never need that. In such a small, trite way, you know? It's not like I'll never die. It's just, you think that you'll never have stomach acid constantly, and not constantly, but just in response to those kinds of foods. But then you get, I'm not even old, and I feel like, yeah, I gotta prep some Tums if I eat some grease food. How do little baby stomachs, like, handle that even? Do kids even get... I don't feel like kids get stomach acid. I don't remember getting acid anything problems when I was a kid. That's just a weird thing that I don't know. Wow, that's 15 minutes. I mean, that's how much I used to go, but that's about as much as I can do here, guys. So this will be the shortest in our Potato Time lineup. And this will probably be the last episode of Potato Time. Sorry, guys. No clever, wonky titles, but no one wants to sit and hear me eat potatoes for 20 minutes a night every week. I think Bagel Time has a lot more discussion-worthy topics. I was also kind of hoping somebody would walk in and I'd have someone on the hot seat, but right now my head is really hurting from talking this much. You'd be surprised the kind of strain it takes to just keep talking and talking and talking. Like, really try talking for 15 minutes. It's something you never think about, but talking for 15 minutes without stopping, and not because even presenters will have like when you do like a speech, you will create little micro breaks for yourself. But in this kind of format where you're audio only, that's it. You just have your voice. And I think it also might be that it's kind of getting late. So, maybe my head's not that much endurance. But I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it's a fun and surprisingly hard challenge to go for this long talking solo, especially with the constant stream of thought. I don't know how anyone solo podcasts, and I don't think anyone does. I don't know any podcast or radio show that does it by themselves. I think that's really weird. That was something that I didn't like about my show, which is why I constantly strive to have guests on, because I don't know. I think that's really weird to be one person talking the entire time. What does that have to offer? It's just one-way conversations can't ever be that interesting, I feel like. It's kind of like when you see a Let's Play on YouTube and it's only one guy. Like, what were they thinking? That format is not conducive unless you are really likable. And I'm sorry, but nobody is that likable where you want to hear them talk for like 30 minutes on end just by themselves without any kind of musical interruption or anything. But yeah, so that was tonight's episode of Potato Time. That's what I'm calling it. This will happen again, probably never, because while this was fun, nostalgic trip of my old radio days, I definitely prefer having a co-host. Any kind of co-host, even one I don't like. But it's very glad that I have one that I do. And she's making a nice face right now. And this has been Potato Time with Jake, and not Eileen. And thank you, and we will see you on the next podcast.